Public sector organisations are facing uniquely challenging times. The Local Government Association estimates that in the past decade, councils will have had budgets cut by almost 60 pence out of every pound the government provides for services. As a result of this, public sector has been forced to look for new ways to drive efficiencies and explore the cost-saving opportunities presented through digitalisation of services and leveraging of their own technology stack. The COVID-19 crisis has really accelerated this need for digital transformation. And as we start to transition to the new normal, local authorities must deliver efficiencies through initiatives such as expanding self-service options and the introduction of automation for the stakeholders. Today, I've got a really special guest that I'm going to chat to, Kevin Timms, who's the chairman and CEO at EACS Limited, who are one of Bloom's Marketplace's accredited suppliers. And what we're going to chat to Kevin about today is how the public sector can really leverage the machine learning, unprecedented reporting, and the analytics muscle of Microsoft Power BI to empower much more informed business critical decisions. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Kevin, and we're going to talk about the power of Power BI. Thank you.
So thanks for joining me today, Kevin. It's a real pleasure to have you on the call, and I really appreciate your time taking out to talk to us about what I think is one of the more exciting components of the Microsoft stack at the minute. And what we're going to talk today about is the business analytics service from Microsoft, Microsoft Power BI. And the aim of that is really to provide that interactive business intelligence with a real easy to use interface that empowers users to create their own dashboards and their own reporting. And Kevin's going to take some time today to talk to us about some of the benefits and some of the background of Power BI and how that works. So first thing, Kevin, just for the layman listener or viewer, if you like, can you just give us a brief overview of what Microsoft Power BI is and how it works and what it is in layman terms?
Yeah, of course. So Power BI is part of a suite of applications that Microsoft called the Power Platform, and Power BI provides one aspect of that. And essentially what it does is it enables you to be able to pull data from different sources. They may be out of applications you've got, HR systems, they may be just out of Excel spreadsheets, SharePoint or other sources of information. And you can then display them either in a very consistent way or in a very graphical way. So for an example, what you could do is if you've got some sales data that, for example, had the postcode with what it is that you sold, you could very easily at the press of a couple of buttons be able to create a heat map of the UK of where your sales were around the UK. And then you can look at that, whether that be by day, by month, by year, and you can do that real time online, having once created that report. So it's a very powerful, simple to use graphical interface to the data of your company.
So what we're talking about really is that single pane of glass, that one source of truth that everybody's trying to aspire towards, getting towards in terms of being able to review, carve and cut up the data. That's very much, I think, where Power BI kind of fits within that Microsoft stack.
Very much so, yes. It's not just about joining data in clever ways. It may be about just making sure that your data is shown in a consistent way. So, you may have it in an Excel spreadsheet and you're okay with that, but you can then put it into a series of charts or a sort of a BI dashboard that enables you to be able to look at that with other data as well, without going to multiple sources. So, particularly for executives or sort of people that are wanting to look at data across the company, they've just got one place to go.
Excellent. And as things stand today, as we're moving into this new norm, if you like, this new post-COVID world, I want to ask you, how are you seeing local authorities respond to the extraordinary pressure that they're all having to face at the minute, and ultimately they're going to continue to battle with in the future as regards to automation of reporting and improvement of their own insights? How are you seeing that from your side of the fence in terms of what local authorities are really doing to deal with that change in demand and real leveraging of that tool from the Microsoft stack?
Well, clearly they're under a significant cost pressure. There's a lot of pressure on the services and the support that they provide. And the advantages of the BI platform is it enables them to be able to get to look at that data without investment and large investment in a lot of IT and a lot of IT technology and a lot of time taken to pull that together. So they can look at different aspects of their business, for example, their contracts, or where they're picking up the rubbish from and how they can better route traffic around to pick that up. Those kinds of reports are relatively easy to generate in Power BI. So the opportunity is not just around cost savings, but efficiency and being able to improve the service that they're providing to all of us.
And ultimately, that's the goal, I guess, for most local authorities, is really about improving that public service offer and empowering staff, empowering members of the public to be able to access data, access this information in a much more suitable, sort of straightforward, empowered way, rather than just sort of getting data from spreadsheets and multiple spreadsheets and things like that.
Yeah, indeed. And because you can display it in a very graphical way, there are things that you can possibly see that you wouldn't see out of an Excel spreadsheet. And because there's a lot of very standard reports, ribbon charts and heat maps and all sorts of things like that are automatic in the tool, you can basically load that data in different ways and then join it with other data to be able to understand, well, what does that really mean? And so can I get sort of cost per unit or stuff like that enables you to get a different insight to the data that you may look at every single day. And we've certainly found that internally within our own business. But it's that ease of use. You know, sometimes it can take a little bit to set it up, but once you've got it going and you've trained some of the staff to be able to modify the reports themselves, you know, you don't need a lot of heavy IT expertise to be able to continue working.
Excellent. And that really brings us on to a question I want to ask about whether you've seen any kind of situations, whether that's currently or potentially in a previous role, where access to that data, the accurate business intelligence and dashboarding has been so important in so many different sectors and businesses.
I can't think of a time. I spent many years in a large corporate organization as CIO for many different parts of that organization, including going through the last recession that we had in 2008-9. And I can't ever remember a time where the pressure on businesses is greater than it ever has been, really, in my career, including that kind of time. And you know, we were dealing with a large automotive company, and we were dealing with really complex supply chain issues. But frankly, you know, that was quite specific to that particular company at that point in time. But you know, what we're seeing now is just affecting every single sector, and we're getting a lot of interest, not authorities and councils, but also private companies looking to how can they better look at the data that they've got and how can they make better use of the information that's there for fingertips.
So have you really seen sort of a major increase in in discussions from businesses within your own client base around how they can really leverage and utilize Power BI, and I guess to really assist them make some tough decisions that they're all going to be facing both now and certainly in the future, and how they can leverage Power BI to really make much more educated decisions and much more educated choices around some of those difficult sort of issues that they've got to look at?
Yeah, and I think actually one of the big things is nobody knows quite the power of the tool, and we actually did a lot of internal development work ourselves. So we now have a team that are responsible for doing our application development work. But we started out by just doing this internally for ourselves with a team of one person, generating our BI reports out of our CRM system and looking at our sales data. And what happened is we built a set of templates and dashboards that became really powerful. And them themselves were, we started showing those to some of our clients, and they were like, wow, I didn't realize it could do that. I didn't know that you could look at the data like that. And how did you do that? Did that take a lot of time and money? Well, no, we put that together in a couple of days. And people were astounded at how quickly we could put them together and what they actually look like. I mean, one of the favorite ones was, we have what's called a fish tank. So it shows the amount of sales our salespeople have done in the size of fish in a fish tank, and it's a really simple tool, but it's very effective. And people go, "Wow, I didn't realize you could do that." And that's a standard report out of the BI toolset. So we did that work ourselves. We started to develop it, and then we started taking it and showing clients, not necessarily to sell them anything, but just sort of look what we do. And very quickly we started to find people saying, could you do that for us? So we've now grown that team substantially, and we've started doing that work for our clients as well.
So I guess that from your perspective, from EACS's perspective, that's really made you an advocate, I guess, of Power BI in terms of its utilisation. And how have you really harnessed your own business intelligence data to make those decisions necessary as we move forward from where we were with lockdown and start to transition into what everybody's calling the new norm?
Well, we have a meeting every week on a Wednesday morning. It happens at 9 o'clock every single Wednesday morning. It's called our business plan review. It's basically we go through all of the metrics of the company, our financial metrics, our sales data, how we're doing with our service and our service delivery, the SLAs of our clients, and so forth. Pretty much every aspect of our company. And when we started doing this, when we acquired the business 3 years ago, it was all very manual, lots of spreadsheets, every report was different. As we implemented the new CRM system, that became the base of us starting to use BI as a reporting tool out of that. And then we quickly found that actually we could put a lot of other data into those into that dashboard. And essentially now most of the reporting that we do in that meeting comes out of our BI dashboards. And so, you know, we don't have to spend a lot of time generating Excel spreadsheets and doing that, but it gives us a complete view across the entire company that everybody can see every single week. So we know precisely where we are at any point in time. Hugely powerful for us, and really enabled us to understand, you know, where we were making money, where we weren't, things that were advantageous to us, things that we should stop doing, and things that we should do more of. Very powerful for us. And it was just simple. We had to get some investment in at the beginning to get some external help to help us. Then we recruited an individual to do it, and then, you know, to be honest, a lot of the reporting now is done by people in our company. They've learned the tool. You know, they don't need to rely on a specialist to do it. They can create those reports themselves. And even when you get the BI dashboard, there's a lot of sliders and buttons you can press to look at the data in different ways without asking anybody to do anything. So that's sort of our journey as to how we got there. But it's been very powerful for us.
I guess that really shows or kind of demonstrates the ease of use of the tool once it's in there and once everybody's brought up to speed and upskilled. And it's a case of being able to generate your own reports, make your own dashboards to really make those business critical decisions. And from your perspective, is that how Power BI has really helped empower some of your decision making transformation around reporting analytics and things like that, and really empowered your own team to be able to develop that approach?
Yeah, very much so. Because as I say, we had to get some help to start with, just to understand the data we were looking at, how you use the tool, pull the data in, and use different sources. But really, once we've got people trained in doing it, all of the reporting we're doing now is just generated by, you know, our sales team and our pre-sales team. You know, you may say, well, yeah, but they're technical experts; they know what they're doing. But yeah, they're not necessarily technical experts in Power BI. They may be technical experts in NetApp installations and things like that. So, but they found it really very straightforward to use. But I would absolutely strongly recommend you need a bit of help at the beginning to make sure you know the information you're looking at, what it means, and how do I get some of those reports stood up. Thereafter, it is pretty intuitive.
Excellent. And thinking about what happens outside of your four walls and my four walls, how do you really see, from your perspective as a user, an advocate, an expert, if you like, in Power BI, how do you really see that's going to help guide local authorities into taking those right decisions as we move forward, not just in the current climate that we're in, but further down the line? We read all the time about local authorities are faced with some massive challenges around budget cuts and trying to make super efficiencies across what they do. And in terms of the response to the challenges that they may face in the future, how do you really think Power BI is going to help leverage and guide and support those local authorities through the journey that they've got to go on now?
I think that there's a couple of things. I mean, clearly one is that you don't need a lot of very expensive IT experts for months and months on end to be able to build data lakes and complicated SQL queries and complicated reports, which really was the world of a couple of years ago before Microsoft really got going with Power BI. So you had to bring in expensive people to do that. I was involved in projects like that in my previous life, and they cost and can cost tens of millions of pounds to put together. This is much simpler than that. You can go and find the data, as I say, as long as you understand what you're looking at. You can find people that are very competent in technology and know their way around things like Excel and so forth, and quite quickly put that together. So they can be done at relatively low cost. and provide really significant insight into the data that that you have. So you can start to predict, where should we be putting the resources? How do we prioritize the things that we need? Where can we make the most impact? Those are the things that you can start to look at, and it forces you to think about the data, about the organization you're running, and how to make better use of it. And then there's just simply the, oh, I didn't know that, and I present the data in that way, making it look from a geographical standpoint, and you suddenly get insight that you just had never known before.
Excellent. And from your experience, what do you think the first steps an organisation, not just a local authority, need to take to ensure that they've maximised the benefits of all the data, all of the business information and analytics they take to improve their own use of Microsoft Power BI?
So I think first of all, it'll be a couple of things. One is to identify in the organisation who you can find to help you build these kinds of reports on an ongoing basis. So if you've got some super users and some skilled people in the organisation that may be able to help you with that, but then go and find a partner to do that early development work, particularly to understand the data you're looking at. What does that mean? You don't necessarily need a lot of resource to do that, but I absolutely would make sure that, otherwise you're just going to get frustrated. You're going to make a start, it isn't going to get what you want, you're going to get despondent and give up. So go seek some help. You don't need a lot of it, and start and work with them to build some starting points, some building blocks and foundation that you can get going. We did that in a matter of weeks, and then thereafter you can do it yourself. But would strongly encourage organisations to take that first step with a partner to get them going.
Excellent. I always feel, from my personal perspective, that the main focus around Power BI is really looking at financial data and financial analytics. And I know there's a number of other key business areas that can benefit from it. But outside of the stereotypical way you might talk about financial reporting, what areas do you really see being able to benefit from Power BI and the power of that tool, other than just the standard finance approach?
Well, certainly for us, the key one and the start point for us has been around sales data. So looking at where we do our sales and our forecasting and so forth, and scheduling in sort of work that we needed doing. But we've had clients come to us looking at supply chain. So we've got a coffee grower, for example, looking at how they do their routing and how they can reduce cost by routing things differently, and just exploring that data. So we've got another sporting organisation where we've been helping them with their events and how they disseminate the data from those events, and looking at how they can leverage the most out of that. So it's not just your stereotypical finance data. Anything that you can look at, you can do, whether that be HR information, sales data, and so forth. And for us, it's sort of anywhere where you've got transactional stuff, where you do a lot of things repetitively, that you can start to look at trends and analysis and understand what's going on. So anything like that, you can start to pick up data on.
Excellent. And thinking about your clients that you mentioned earlier, can you think of any sort of real world examples of where Microsoft Power BI has really facilitated that better decision making for your own customer and your own client base? Is there any examples you could share with us today?
Yeah, going back to the sort of the coffee grower, as I say, they had asked us to come in, take a look at the data that they'd got on the routings and the information that they got stored in their systems on that. We were able to build some reports for them that showed where the routings were, and able to join some of the costs associated with that, so they could start to understand, what was a better way of providing and supplying coffee to different parts of the UK and Europe from the data that they'd already got, and be able to do that very visually. So a sort of an example, sort of a supply chain one rather than a finance one. Another one was an online sales organization. Once again, asked us to look at the information around their sales and how that was looking by region and by product. And we were able to build some reports for them that they were then able to continue to modify, that gave them a sense of what that would look like.
Excellent. And from your perspective and from your experience, what do you really feel are the key enablers that you believe local authorities have got to make to ensure that they're able to access and then be able to analyse that data in a rapid and accurate manner, speed of delivery and things like that? Where do you, from your perspective, where do you see that sitting, and where can Microsoft Power BI really benefit local authorities from that perspective?
So I think any organisation, whether that be local authority or otherwise, really needs to understand their data. What is it that I'm looking at? What does that tell me? And if I join it with that, does that make sense? Or how do I present that in a different way? But it's really understanding the data, the thing that you're looking at, which is the most important, and is often the way people get into trouble, because if you don't really understand your data, what is that defined as? When you start reporting it, you can get you can go off in the wrong direction, the wrong tangent. So a lot of the time we'll ask questions about, can you describe who owns that data, where does it come from, how does it get modified, just so that you can understand what you're looking at.
Excellent. Thank you, Kevin. I want to be super respectful of your time today, and I've just got one more thing I really wanted to touch on just to close out today, and that's looking ahead. How will investing now deliver those efficiencies and savings for the public sector in the future, from your perspective?
Well, I think Microsoft have done some return on investment on Just BI, and there's 188% over 1 year, sort of £1 spent on the technology is £4 recovered in savings from sort of operations. I can absolutely get that and understand that. It will vary by organisation and things that you look at. Sometimes it may be that I can just make better decisions and improve quality rather than save money. But I think, I used to work for a guy when I was in automotive who said you can't manage a secret, and what he meant by that is, the data is there. Go find it. Go display it in a way that you can see it, and then you can manage your business properly and effectively because you can see it. If you can't see it, you can't manage it. And I think that's a really, really valid piece of advice. He was not IT, but very, very smart business guy.
Excellent. Well, Kevin, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today about Microsoft Power BI. It's been really insightful, and I hope everybody listening in today and viewing gets some benefit from it. Thanks again, Kevin, and really appreciate your time.
I think David, great fun.
Once again, I really want to thank Kevin from EACS for taking time out of his schedule today to talk to us about Power BI. And what we've heard today is that Power BI can really facilitate much better decision making in public sector through the orchestrating of various data sources into that user-friendly and accessible single pane of glass that we talked about, offering real-time insights that's going to empower decision makers to drive efficiencies in not just finance, but in all of the data processes throughout the organisation. If you'd like more information about what we've talked about in today's session, please feel free to email hello@bloom.services, or you can alternatively message me directly on LinkedIn. Again, thanks for listening. I hope you found the session really insightful and useful. And if there's any more information you'd like to talk to me or EACS about, feel free to get in touch. Thanks very much.